Hey, it's Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres. Oh, excuse me. Today's the 13th of May, and it's Sunday. I usually make videos like in the morning on Sunday, but it's almost 3 o'clock now. So it's our Sunday, our day of relative rest, I guess. And before I go any further, I want to communicate this subject because I think it's really important, and I'm gonna tie back into it a lot in this homestead idea, this homestead notion. And it ties into the subject of community, really. And you'll see. But we'll call this one assets and liabilities. Okay, now anything that you're doing, you're gonna run into things that you may believe are a liability. And how will you know when you run into one of those things? It'll be when you say, so-and-so, I'll just add this, rocks. You know, darn rocks. Or even more coarse language sometimes. So I'm out there using my rototiller, just rototilling this place up. And bang, hit one of these beauties. So I have to stop and get off, and there's some more of them right there. And I wind up thinking, boy, I hate rocks. Boy, I hate rocks. So that's how you know when you've hit what you think is a liability. But you want to stop when you do that, and you want to think about that for a minute. Because I've actually lived places before where if you wanted to throw a rock at a dog, you pretty much had to take a battery out of your flashlight to throw a rock at them, because there weren't any rocks around. Because the people that lived there, this happened to be in Bolivia, used the rocks for building materials. So you couldn't find any rocks. They were gone. Even the little rocks were gone. Generations and generations of building with rocks. So on the farmstead model, we're building stuff all the time. So if you change your perspective from that is a liability to it is an asset, like how could that be an asset? Let's say I'm tilling the field and I hit a shotgun shell box or something like that, a plastic shotgun shell box, and I take it open and there's cash inside of it. Let's say that was to happen. I would know what I could do with that cash. But if I hit a rock, I might think, stupid rocks. But what you have to do is you got to look at a rock and say, what could I do with this rock? Because there's a lot you can do with rocks. But, I'm not going to get into that, but I'm sure you could explore that in your own mind. Like, what could you do with rocks if you live someplace where there were no rocks, or if you live someplace where it's really rocky? Should you be building a barbecue out of steel that you have to go buy, or are you going to maybe invest in a cement mixer and learn how to, build with rocks and mortar and stuff like that, which I really don't know how to do, but I want to explore that, and that's something that I really want to know how to do. So in anything that you're doing, you can turn a liability, or what you think is a liability, into an asset. And, I think a lot of times things that we believe are assets, if we really look at them and if we really think them through, they're a liability. Sort of like having a license from the Department of Ag, to do business. Whoa, look at this, I got this. But there's a lot of crap that comes with it. So it's not really, and I hate to keep busting on them. They're probably not listening to me anymore, but there's a lot more garbage that comes with it than you'd think. So I guess that's my message for today, and I think it's a pretty important message. My father was a B-17 guy, and he wound up flying something like 22 missions over Europe, and then succumbed to flying fatigue. Went through a couple crews, couple airplanes. Very young man, and he would always say to me, life is about perspective. So when you hit a rock in the field, think of me and think, what could I do with this rock? Anyway, this is Mark, Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm.